Welcome to Before You Knew Me, where we deep dive into the pivotal moments and hidden stories behind the people who walk among us. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Noel Pulanco, who is a guest of mine that I have gotten to know over the years and whose life has read through epic tales of resilience, ambition, and transformation. So, here we are going to be talking about his sales career from the early on stage of high school, all the way through the highs and lows of a bar scene, surviving even a life threatening stabbing, all the way to ascending the ranks in the world of property management and real estate, and just thriving in the realm of innovative use of virtual assistants as well. So, this is the story of Noel before you knew him.
This episode is sponsored by Yes Virtual. Be overstaffed and under budget. Virtual assistants and remote employees. Staffing solutions for any business. We hire, train, supervise, and handle IT. You mold them to fit your individual needs.
All right, as promised, you guys, I bring Noel Pulanco. I said that right, Noel?
Nailed it. First try.
I didn't practice this at all. Well, thank you for being with us, Noel. We are so excited to dive into more of your just life, because I know for me in particular, there's so many stories that are told, whether it's me talking to somebody or somebody talking to me, that it's like, oh, wow, I never knew that about you. And so I have also learned that there's a lot to you, Noel, that neither I nor many other folks probably knew about. And so I can't wait to dive into that today. But why don't you start off introducing yourself? Tell us where you're from and where you're originally from. That's my favorite part.
So I am Noel James Polanco. So if you've ever seen my name in writing, or if I've ever given you a business card, it looks a lot harder than that. But trust me, I'm just a ginger that was born in Wyoming, Casper. I know Drea likes that state. But yeah, a couple of my favorite times a year, right around Christmas, when I get called Noel about 79,000 times. And also anytime, in sales that I have to call someone and say, hi, my name is Noel. And they go, did you say Nail? Did you say Noah? Did you say Joel? How do you spell that? Knoll? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I often get mispronunciation. So my middle name is James. It's easy, I promise. And I have a twin brother.
Why didn't you just change your name to that after so long?
Trust me, anytime I have to order a coffee or something, it's Batman or Robin or James or anything.
I love it. Well,
but I have a twin brother, and he got Benjamin Samuel. Like, his is easy.
What? Yeah, I didn't know you had a twin brother either.
Yeah, I'm 45 minutes older.
Hey, that's a big deal. Like, usually it's like seconds.
My mom reminds us of it all the time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell me a little bit about where you're living today. Sure. And actually, what I wanted to say is I can relate with you on the name ordeal. Like, Drea is short for Andrea, but nobody calls you Andrea. They'll call you Andrea, Andrea, whatever else. And so some kid, one of my really good friends, 7th grade, started calling me Drea. It stuck. Can't go back to it. I don't know how. It just does not come out my mouth. But then every time I'm like, hi, my name is Drea, they're like, Drea? I'm like, yeah, that works.
Well, luckily you're famous now, so we all know it's Drea now.
Oh, I'm not famous, and I need to change my last name. So while I do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're living today?
Sure. So I'm in a neighborhood called Arrowhead. It's basically North Glendale, just a suburb of Phoenix. We moved to Arizona from Casper in '82. So I'm not a native, but pretty much a native. So first weekend here, the neighbor kids were having a lemonade stand, and my brother and I went outside for an hour and a half and got so sunburnt that we didn't leave the house again for a week, because we had that fresh, untouched Casper, Wyoming ginger skin that didn't mix too well with Phoenix in July.
Very real thing. I guess, gingers probably do love living in the north, don't they?
Well, if you keep us covered, we're a little happier. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in West Phoenix, went to Apollo High School in Glendale. School was always super easy. I was always really smart with school stuff, so that was easy. Ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Northern Arizona University, which we can talk about later. That was for grades. But yeah, grew up playing football. We used to snowboard all the time and ski. I grew up skiing. We learned in Wyoming, but we used to go to Colorado all the time when we first moved here, Durango a lot, Vail, Beaver Creek. We've skied in Utah. We've skied in Bryan Head and Nevada. So that was kind of always our family thing with ski trips. And I started snowboarding at 13 and never put on 2 skis again. So I think the last time I went was about 3 years ago. I'm getting a little old to do it. It's one of those things where if you're good at it, you kind of still want to go hard.
Right.
And your body says, hey, bro, don't go hard anymore.
Playing sports all of my life and living in Wyoming most of my life, I have never been skiing or snowboard.
Really?
I have gone to the lodge, and I was actually studying or not studying, but I was practicing a presentation I had to give when I was going down to Laramie for school. And there was a bunch of friends coming up for the weekend, and I said, yeah, I'll go. And I studied in the lodge, and that was as close as I've got. But I was like, I would be that kid to break a leg, and then there goes my career.
Yeah. I've had the severely twisted ankle. I've had the dislocated shoulder. I've had a couple of things. I do remember I took my wife years ago, probably 10 years ago. We went to Breckenridge, and it was super windy and super cold. We might have had drinks the night before, so maybe she wasn't in the best mood. But I had to buy her gloves, and they were big black gloves, and she started crying because the gloves were so ugly. And I was like, this is not going to be a good day. So we take the chairlift up. She goes, you go in front of me. You go in front of me. So I go down about 200 yards. I stop and look up at her. She looks at me. She looks to the side. There's a lodge. She looks at me again, looks at the lodge, straight to the lodge. So I'm already 200 yards down the mountain. I'm like, all right, babe, I guess I'll see you around 4. So
oh my gosh.
didn't see her the rest of the day.
Was the lodge at the top of the mountain? Because I don't.
Yeah, it was like a midway lodge. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't blame her.
So I had a good day snowboarding by myself that day. That was fun.
Hey, it's important to be able to be control of your own happiness, and it sounds like both of you made yourselves happy that day.
she chose life that day. Yeah, she went away.
That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit more, Noel. I know that a big part of your whole career journey really started when you were in high school, and right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of fell into sales just because I've always had a little bit of personality. I was in a rap group in high school. We won the talent show sophomore and junior year.
You were in a, wait, did you say rap group?
Yeah, me and a couple of the homies did our own music and lyrics.
Did it ever go anywhere, or just the stage of the high school?
We won the talent show in Apollo High School in 1993.
That's amazing. I love that.
It's in the yearbook somewhere. Yeah. So I was always kind of a ham. I was always a little bit of a class clown. I never had a problem speaking or being in front of people. And then I got a job, summer job before senior year at Just for Feet. It was the biggest shoe store in the country. It's like, I think I was trying to tell you before, it's about as big as 4 or 5 Foot Lockers at once. They have like 10,000 shoes. We had a basketball court inside, a popcorn machine, hot dog machine, all kinds of stuff. So I learned very quickly that I was good at sales. The second month I was there, I was the second leading salesperson in the whole country. And it was right behind the Honolulu store, which is right by the airport. So I was just good at it. I put a 90-year-old lady in Jordans one time because she wanted something flashy with ankle support. She freaking loved them.
And I want to clarify before you keep going with the stories and all, because I'm loving that every second. But for when the first time I heard the company name, I didn't hear it. It took me a second. Just for feet. And this wasn't a new age thing. This was an old age thing. So it was definitely shoes.
Yeah, it was for sure.
But yeah, so it was Just for Feet, a shoe store. And I'm quite impressed that there was a basketball court in there. Was that just for show? Like people put on shoes to go play, or
there'd be knuckleheads that would come in there and just play each other. But I think it was kind of like, hey, do you want to try on this 100 pair of shoes and see how they work on the court? It was a game.
I mean, that's a great sales tactic.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, you could play, and it was a very popular store. I mean, it was big.
Did the lady with Air Jordans get on the court?
I don't know. I think she took her Jordans and walker and headed straight for the door. But yeah,
you found exactly what she needed. That was all that mattered. That's what made you number one.
Yeah. but I learned then, like, you might be dealing with a mom who's got a 3-year-old trying to figure out, you can't even wait to tie him. He just wants to see how fast he can run. You got the grumpy old lady sometimes. You got the super serious, hardcore running guys that want to come in and talk about all the tech, and you have to know some of that. So I kind of got like a wide array of learning to sell to all different kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of naturally good at talking to people. But a couple of things I learned, like if somebody asks for an Air Jordan in a size 10 and you don't have it, you bring out a Charles Barkley in a size 10. Like you try to sell them something. So that's like one of the things that stuck with me forever is, hey, they're here, they want to buy something. You may not have what's perfect, but you have something that will work and you have something that will be good for them. And ultimately, I mean, if you could make them happy, I'm not just trying to sell you anything to sell you something. I want to sell you something that works. And maybe you didn't know that the Barkley is just as good. It just doesn't say Jordan. So maybe try them on and see how that goes. So I learned a lot about sales just from that kind of microcosm. You deal with every sort of person. I mean, everybody wears shoes, right? So from high-end sales to the cheap stuff at the front, we called it the combat zone, where it was basically like a pay less, super cheap stuff to, I mean, this is back in the 90s. We had a $285 pair of Timberland hunting boots. So, and everything in between. So I just kind of learned a lot about sales then, and learning how to talk to different kind of people, and that you may need to change what you're saying depending on who you're talking to and all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing that you even remember the price tag of Timberlands.
Yeah, they were a big deal. Like, I mean, we had like 4
are.
pairs of them, and we never sold one while I was there, but our goal was, somebody's got to sell these. Like every week we came in like, somebody's got to sell these things,
And this was in Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and they were like almost up to the knee Gore-Tex, super high-tech Timberland hunting boots. I'm like, nobody's going to buy these in Phoenix, but we had
up to the knee is getting a little aggressive, but it's not a bad brand.
Yeah. And I had to become Timberland certified. I had to learn all about Gore-Tex, and there's steel shank in there and all kinds of unuseful knowledge to me now. I'm like Cliff Clavin. I'm full of useless stuff.
Aren't we all? Like as the world changes and life goes on, it's like there's things out of my childhood that I remember, and I'm just like, why? I guess maybe I'll be good at a trivia question, just one day. And it might be the one that wins. You just never know.
It'll be that random fact you picked up somewhere,
That's true. I'll probably learn it from you.
We'll see.
Yeah. But was there any, I mean, many high schoolers, myself included, I was just looking for a job, right? And so I went and got one, and it worked out, and I moved on to the next one when I needed to. But was there any early influences, or I know you talked a little bit about like experience of getting up on stage, but kind of that sparked your interest in sales and business? Did you know?
Well, I definitely, my first job was Little Caesars Pizza, and it was a bunch of cute high school girls working the front. And they sent me in the back to do dishes. I was 15. And then my next job was at Peter Piper Pizza, which was right next door. Same thing, senior girls made me do the dishes. And I was like, okay, this sucks. Nobody gets to see my wonderful personality. I'm just doing dishes. But at least at that one, I could give away prizes. So I ran the prize counter.
Okay.
So like a cute little kid would come up with like 4 tickets. He's like, I want that remote control car. I'm like, it's yours, dude. It's supposed to be like 10,000 tickets. I didn't care.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully they don't chase me down for this.
No kidding.
But when I got the job at the shoe store, now I'm a senior in high school. I'm captain of the football team, and I'm wearing the coolest stuff. I mean, I'm all pimped out in Nike running pants. I'm wearing the Andre Agassi shoes. You're too young to know that. I got some Barry Sanders shoes. I got like the track jacket. I mean, I had the freshest fly gear, and I'm like, hey, I like working at a place that pays me a little more, and I don't smell like pizza dough. And now I look fresh and fly. And I'm like, I kind of like this. So I was excited to do that job and to try hard at it, because it paid off in whichever way it paid off. Part of it was just, I thought I looked cool, and I got to work at a place that had a little bit of a status. I wasn't, just doing dishes. I worked at a cool shoe store, which as a high schooler, that's an athlete. That's kind of a cool thing,
Yep. And what would you say that the notable challenges that you may have faced whenever you started working there in order to get up to number one?
The sales part always came easy to me. Plus I was in great shape and I was motivated. I was still playing football. So like, I just kind of had that winning attitude, I guess. And it
Mhm.
was a competition. And there was a couple other guys there that I was good friends with. And we were just, it was a competition thing. And we had one boss that was a real jerk, but I realized later that he really instilled a lot of um, good things in us as far as um, how to sell, how to be motivated, showing up, cleaning up after yourself, being presentable. A lot of the things that he taught us that at the time I was like, this guy's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
But I realized what he was telling us really, worked. And I took some of that with me. So, as a first boss it was a very pushy sales job. They really wanted us to push hard,
Mm-hmm.
but it was easy. Like people know what they want. They know how much their budget is. Just find them something that if, like I said, if we don't have the right size, bring them something else.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they leave with something. But it wasn't like selling cars necessarily, but we had spiffs and we had prizes and we had competitions and those kind of things. So,
Yeah.
I kind of picked up that competitive spirit, which, as I slowly got into real estate, I took that with me and wanting to be number one when I was a leasing agent and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that you were just born with it? Like it sounds
Well,
like you didn't
I
really
was
have a-
definitely born the gift of gab I probably get from my mom.
Okay.
But my twin brother, I mean, he's funny, but he's a lot harder to talk to. I could talk to anybody, right?
Yeah.
At least I think I can.
Yeah.
And I like talking to people. So that part's easy. I've never had to be a pushy salesperson, but people get to know and like and trust me. And then if I've got something that might be a fit, then they'll buy it from me more likely than they will from, the dude with the slick back hair who's just trying to jam them into the most expensive shoe or
Right.
the most expensive car or whatever it is you're selling.
Mhm.
So look, there's a reason I think that car salesmen are the successful ones are very successful. That must work on some people, being that super pushy, hard, uh, I'll just say DB instead of using the word, but that kind of a salesperson. That's
It's
just not me.
PG here, no. It did
But
take me a second to be like, oh, where does he try not to say?
enough people buy from that guy with the gold watch and the gold ring and the gold necklace and
True.
slick back
It's
hair.
true.
And look, there's something to be said about those type of people that are motivated and are chasing it. And there's a reason that they're sharks. That's just, I've
Mhm.
never had to sell that way. And I've been able to sell good enough, at least for me,
Mhm.
without having to change my personality into that kind of a salesperson.
I can appreciate that wholeheartedly. And
Yeah.
many people know, but many people do not know, I have also been in the sales career, and that's actually how I met Noel. And it is like you get trained by so many different people of like how to do sales because that's how it works for them. And then
Sure.
they tell you how to do it, and it doesn't align with your character at all. And you're like, okay, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to take what I can, but I can't do it the way you do it. Like
Yeah.
it just, my heart won't let me. Like I can
Well, and
appreciate that.
there's something to be said. There's all kinds of sales mastery books and
Mhm.
the Zig Ziglars and some of these guys that will teach you everything. But I think the biggest one I ever learned was at least ask for the sale. Like
Yeah.
at least ask them. So do you feel like you're going to buy this? Doesn't mean you got to jam it down their throat, but
Mhm.
if they're asking you for information at some point, you got to say, do you want this or not? And you could ask it nicely. You could ask it up front. You could ask it at the end. You don't have to ask it 17 times.
Mhm.
But if you're going to be in sales, you got to have a little bit of ice in your veins, at least enough to close a deal and say, hey, do you want this?
Yeah.
I've just always felt I don't need you to buy it today as long as I know that you're going to buy it from me eventually.
Mhm.
Did I do a good enough job that you trust me and what I'm selling and it's something that you need? That if you don't get it from me today, it might be next month, it might be next year, but you'll
Mhm.
come back to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
That just gave me chills because that is asking for the sale is one of the hardest thing for salespeople to do.
Sure. They
And
don't do it. Most of them don't do it.
they don't. And
Yeah.
it sounds unreal because it's sales. Sales is in the name. And they're like, what is the number one question you need to ask whenever you're doing sales? Oh, would you like to buy this?
Right.
And you're right. It doesn't have to be pushy, but that again falls into who you are as a person. How does it feel good for you? And it doesn't have to be, the DB word.
Right. But one thing I really like about just any kind of sales is if you've got a good product, I mean, you're problem solving. They're coming to you because they need something, right? So is what you're selling a match, and are you solving a problem for them? And if you're a really good listener, you can be a much better salesperson.
Yeah.
If you're just jamming down their throat, whatever it is you think you need to get rid of, you're going to get some people that maybe buy it and then they hate your guts and maybe they return it if that's a thing tomorrow or the next week. But if you're figuring out why are they asking me, why are they interested in what I've got? What kind of problem can this solve for them? And does it make sense? And can I help them understand why it makes sense? And then be nice about it and say, hey, do you want it or not?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I mean, they didn't come pull over to your car dealership because they wanted a cheeseburger, right? They're looking for a car. Can you find them the right one? Or they didn't call you about property management or real estate or social media marketing. They want to know what you've got, how you can help them, and does it make sense? And a lot of people are looking, especially in a relationship type sale. So I'm not selling shoes anymore. I sell them shoes. They walk away. I may never see them again. I sell people real estate investments, right?
Yes.
So they may have that for 10 years. I may promise them I'm going to put a tenant in their house, and I've got to hope that it does well. I'm going to be married to that investor and to that tenant for as long as the lease is, and probably as long as that investor owns the home. So I can't BS them on the way in. It's got to perform like I told them it would. I've got to make sure I understand what their goals are, try to help them match that, because it's going to be a really crappy relationship if all of that stuff, isn't what I promised, or I sold them something that they didn't even ask or wasn't really what was right for them, right? So I think a realtor will sell you anything you want to buy. I think a good investment advisor will sell you a good investment that will perform. And that's like a big key I see when I know we're jumping ahead into real estate stuff, but one of the biggest things I see with realtors is if you ask them to sell you a house, they'll sell you anything you want to buy. They want to get paid. But are they selling it just because you asked them, or are they really finding you the house that fits for you? If you're just moving your family in, great. Pick the prettiest house on the lake, whatever you can afford, what you want. If you're buying it to rent it out, doesn't matter if it's a 2-story versus a single story, if it's on the corner, if it's not, if it's a school that's close by, if there's a street behind it, a lot of that stuff goes into it, so any realtor will sell you anything you want to buy.
Well, and I can't express enough how much relationship selling is so important to me and very near and dear to my heart, because I have also been on the flip side, not necessarily the salesperson, but on the other side of that, somebody sold me a dream, right? And it was exactly what I wanted. They undelivered. And then it's like, it's a terrible breakup. It's like, I was so proud of you and I was so excited to have this relationship with you. And now it's like, I don't want to see your face. I don't want anything associated with you coming up on my feed. It's ugly. And I'm trying hard not to let that be the thing. I'm trying very hard to have communication with whoever this was. But on the flip side of that, I can tell you as a salesperson too, just to add to what you were saying, is like, I was the same exact way. And I have built relationships with people across multiple different companies. And when I moved to a different company, then come to find out somebody else brought on that same person long before I joined, but I found that their promise wasn't delivered on, right? And even though that wasn't my sale, that relationship is more important to me than money was. So it was like, I want to make sure that you get what was promised. Like, let's restart this. What do I have to do for you? And it's like disheartening when you have a company that mistakes happen. They definitely do. But it's like, oh, that hurts. That person didn't even come and say, hey, I wasn't delivered upon this, And it's like, you should have. But yes,
I mean, it's just like anything in life. Sometimes you got to fess up to the hard stuff too.
Oh, I know.
I'm married. I know you're freshly married, but there'll be a lot of times that you have to say you're sorry when you don't want to say it, but you need to.
I have many conversations with my parents about that. Not to the extent of Brady's and I's conversations, but other people's conversations. And they're like, you need to say this. I'm like, that's way too nice. I don't
want. I need to say it? Yeah.
Do I need to? I feel that in my being, but it is true. Like in order to move forward, you have to take that extra step, even though it just like makes you cringe. It is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I know that sales will be talked about throughout this whole process because that's really your world, or what your world has been since you were just a young lad. But tell the people what happened after the feat. Got the name.
Well, I went to NAU, Northern Arizona University,
Okay.
full ride scholarship. I took 8 classes. I got 8 Fs. So that was my first experience in being a tenant. Not
What?
I was a lot better at being a resident on campus than a student. I got a job at the shoe store up there. I was selling things that probably were illegal back then, doing all kinds of things instead of going to class.
Okay.
I'm still going to the gym. I pretty much went to class to see if there was a girl I could walk to her next class and maybe try to get a date later.
Oh my gosh. Some reason that doesn't surprise me.
Well, school was always so easy, and I was kind of the golden boy growing up. I mean, I was never in trouble. I got good grades. I was captain of the football team, all that stuff. And then you go up there and it's like, okay, now I learned how to drink beer a little bit. Nobody's telling me I have to go to class. They're suggesting it's probably a good idea. And I'm thinking, nah, maybe it's not such a great idea today because it's nice out and I want to go snowboarding or whatever else I wanted to do besides go to class. So epic fail on that. Realized
literally 8 fails.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Noel.
I took sociology twice, and the only reason I went to that class is because he would start off on the lesson, and literally 8 to 10 minutes in, he would just start talking about drugs, and I was like, "This guy's awesome. I'll sit here and listen to this." But it didn't cover the course material at all, so
right.
I was like, okay. But yeah, so I kind of figured out at least college wasn't for me. At least it wasn't for me at that time. So I moved to Denver for a couple of years, worked a customer service job. I got hired at Dish Network, which is the big satellite company when they were brand new. I've always been promoted fast. I got promoted like a national account thing. So I'm basically working at a call center for 2 years. I moved back to Phoenix. I get a job at Desert Financial, basically working in the debit card department, answering people's calls when their cards don't work. And I'm like, this blows. I hate it. And sorry, we're keeping it PG.
I just am thinking of all the poor credit card people that have had to hear my voice with the name change and everything and things changing. Oh, I tried so hard to be nice.
Yeah, well, and I get it. My card didn't work sometimes too, but pretty much I'm just resetting their PIN code, or it's one of those jobs that probably AI will do forever now, that we used to have to do in the late 90s, early 2000s. You needed a human's fingers to do it. But I'd worked as a bouncer for a little bit in Denver, and then my first weekend back, there's a huge bar called Jackson's on 3rd downtown, which is right across the street from where the Suns play and a block away from where the Diamondbacks play.
Okay.
So I saw what their security looked like, and I'm like, these guys are clowns. Let me apply here. So I got hired like the next day to work security, and I was kind of doing that on the weekends. And then about a year in, we all of us security hated the DJ. He was just awful. He walked out in the middle of a shift one day, like on a Saturday afternoon. We're packed. This place held 2,500 people. It was a huge bar, right? So the DJ walks out in the middle of the shift, and the manager's panicking. They're like, does anyone know how to DJ? And then somewhere on the radio, one of the barbacks or somebody goes, let Noel try it. They must have seen me, like I'd probably done karaoke out partying one night with people or something.
Yeah.
They're like, let Noel try it. And I'm like, what? I've never done this before. So I get up there. It's like a 2 CD changer. He's got 1,000 CDs there. And I just started playing music. And I was the DJ for 8 years there after that.
Oh my gosh. What was your DJ name?
I didn't come up with it, so you can't tell anybody. All right, it's a secret.
Oh, this is gonna this is gonna be a thing, right? People are gonna know. Can you say?
They called me DJ Nasty. Yes, my wife and daughter like to tease me about that one still.
I can.
But yeah, they literally had my name painted on the wall, like DJ Nasty on Friday nights, and I'm like, oh.
I won't even ask how you got the name, but it is. I mean. It draws people in. You can't forget it.
It was a thing. It was a thing.
It is a thing.
But but then as I was DJ, I was there so long that I eventually became like the assistant manager. So I was running lunch shifts and nights that I wasn't DJing, I was managing the bar, and so I learned how to bartend and cook. And I had to run out one time and work the grill. Who's that big motivational speaker? Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
He was across the street from us, and apparently nobody on the staff knew that he was having an event.
Yeah.
And at his event, they had a lunch break and they weren't serving food inside the whole arena.
Oh, wow.
So literally about 1,000 people walk across the street to our place.
Wow.
And I got like 2 girls working the tables, 1 bartender, our kitchen crew. And they're like, we're starving. And I'm like, oh crap. And we have this huge outdoor grill. So I just had my kitchen guy run out like 500 hot dogs, 500 burgers, and I just threw everything on.
Mm-hmm.
This is when your sales mode kicks in. It's like, they need something, let's sell it.
Yeah.
And I just said, everything's $5. Boom, boom, boom. We shipped out like 800 burgers and hot dogs in about an hour.
Wow.
Fed everybody, and that was like, that was kind of an interesting on the spot little thing that we had to somehow pull off, but we made them happy.
Yeah.
A bunch of them came back later for drinks, so that was good.
That's fantastic. And that says a lot, because if you only had, I'm thinking, I've done bartending. I will tell you, I'm not a great bartender, but I'm a great conversationalist. And I think that's how I've ever gotten a bartending job. I can pour a beer real easy, but the rest of it, I'm Googling my phone to see what's in it. However, I heard that you had 2 girls on the working the tables, and I was all like, those poor girls.
Oh, it was a nightmare. But we just sent everybody down. They said, we got burgers and dogs, go down and get one.
Yeah.
And we got everybody something, so they didn't go back and cuss out Tony Robbins. He's a big dude. You don't want to be yelling at him.
Yeah. Getting a bad name for yourself.
But other cool stuff happened there too. I mean, I got to meet a lot of celebrities while I was there, mostly like it's funny how tiny rappers are. Kanye West, Nelly, Ice Cube, they're all under like 5'6",
Really?
tiny, and they walk around with humongous 7-foot security guys.
Right.
And they're this little tiny dude walking in between them.
So what you're saying is they have one of me walking on the side of them.
Yeah. It's like you walking next to Ann McCauley, if you know who Ann McCauley is. Yeah. But yeah, so I got to meet some people like that. A lot of players like Mark McGuire was a huge deal. He was a total jerk. Charles Barkley was totally awesome. So I got to meet some of those type of people during the World Series. I was DJing on the patio in the B-52, doing the flyover for game 2, flies right over our freaking head. I mean, it was pretty amazing stuff. I got a picture with the trophy. So the 8-9 years I was there was definitely fun.
Wow.
But I also realized I was never going to own the place, So,
right.
And 8 years working at a bar goes by really fast, because if you've ever worked at a bar before, you probably drink 4 or 5 nights a week too. So
yeah, and you don't sleep, and
and everybody there, like every bartender was trying to be a fireman, and every server was trying to be a school teacher.
Oh.
And we were all there together, like 6, 7. Some of us were there like the whole 8 years together. It's like,
right.
Okay, somebody's got to grow up, guys. I'm out. I'm gonna go start doing real estate.
DJ Nasty out.
Yeah.
So I have to ask before, because I feel like you might be leaving this out, but I really I'm curious. You just threw it in there nonchalantly in the email that you sent me of like, oh, I got stabbed in the chest. That was fun. And then you kept going. What was the story?
I've been in over probably 100, we'll call them altercations in my bar career. But you have to remember, so I was a pretty tough bouncer, but towards the end, I mean, I had 19 security guys. So towards the end, we started doing different kind of nights, Latin ladies night and a hip hop night, which brought in totally different crowds. We had 8 cops out front, 19 security guys. When I first started, there was like 4 bouncers for the whole place. I mean, and it's a huge place.
I was going to say, how big was this place?
Well, we held about 2,500 people.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So it was huge.
Yeah.
Huge main bar, 2 separate nightclubs, and a huge patio downstairs. When I was DJing, the whole place could hear it, or I could just go in one of the nightclub rooms and do private parties or just the club one night. Or I would set up my stuff outside of the patio. So I had like a whole DJ booth set up out there, or we could have a live band. But yeah, I was in a lot of altercations, but I tell people, I still know how to fight a little bit. It's been a long time, but remember, when you're a bouncer, you're in the matrix, right? You're fighting drunk guys. So I was a badass, but also their punches weren't coming at me quite as hot as they thought they were.
It felt like they were. That I've never thought of it that way, honestly.
Yeah.
But that makes sense.
there was one time a fight broke out lower patio, and I just put a song in, and then I throw in the Humpty Dance because it's like 6 minutes and 28 seconds.
Yeah.
So I throw that in, change it. I jump the fence, run across the bar, and dive on like a pile of like 6 people that were fighting. All these Dodger fans. Dodger fans are jerks if you're listening. But I like knock down the whole group, and then the rest of security comes, and they kind of peel me off. I jump back over the bar, jump over the fence in time to change the song, like it never even missed a beat. So
Oh my
that,
gosh.
that was one of my Super Noel stories I like to tell.
Yes,
But
it is.
yeah, in one of these things, yeah, I did get stabbed right under my my left pec, and it collapsed my lung, and
Ugh.
yeah, it wasn't fun. I still have
No,
the scars.
goodness gracious. And that guy was drunk?
Yeah, he was drunk. He was definitely drunk.
Well, I mean, that kind of sucks. They had good enough aim, I guess.
Yeah, well, I punched his buddy, and he ran up and stabbed me from behind. So
That sucks. That's the stuff you
it
see.
wasn't
in
fun,
movies
but
and all.
I broke up a fight between the Arizona Rattlers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Rattlers is an indoor football team. The Cardinals are an outdoor football team. So we had some fun ones. I could tell you that those stories are a lot more fun over beers, but plenty of fight stories.
I don't know. I think it's pretty special that you were there to break up fights because it's a really big deal for people that are drinking and they don't know that they need somebody there. So Super Noel is superhuman, just jumping over things. But gosh,
I will tell you, you definitely learn a lot about conflict resolution when you're a bouncer, because your
yeah.
job is you're supposed to protect them, right?
Mhm.
You want to get them out without anybody getting hurt.
Right.
But you also can't let them hurt you.
Mhm.
And this was back before we had phones that recorded video. So we're very lucky because look, if you take a swing at a bouncer, there's a good chance you're getting slammed on your head or something.
Mhm.
Something not nice is going to happen to you as you're getting taken out.
Right.
But the goal is if you can walk them out, walk them out. I've picked up little guys and just carried them out with their little legs kicking, before. And we had way bigger guys than me. So there's been a few of us, one of our moves, if he's little, just pick his ass up and carry him out.
Right.
There's something fun about a 50-year-old entitled rich white guy screaming at you with his legs kicking. Don't kick me out. Don't you know who I am? And you're like, don't care. Goodbye. And you get to set them down outside. So there's some satisfaction in that. But then when you go back to having a real job, like if a tenant comes in and wants to cuss me out because he's got late fees, I can't exactly jump over my desk and choke him out.
Right.
That's
Right.
not really a thing anymore. But
No.
I will tell you, just to finish the bouncing thing, the chicks are the worst. They will take their shoes off. They will throw chairs. They will throw heels. They'll scratch and claw and bite.
Because they believe they're untouchable because you can't hit a girl.
Well, we don't hit them, but we can grab them.
Right.
Girls are why we started using pepper spray, the straight line pepper spray,
Oh my God.
because we didn't want to hurt girls, but we're like, hey, if you come at us swinging,
Yeah.
we're going to spray you right in the eyes. We used to give them the old crucifix, and
Oh my gosh.
they pretty much stop trying to fight you when they can't see or breathe.
Yeah, I would say so. They have bigger problems at that point.
So by then, that was more towards the end when we had a lot more girl fights where I was more managing and I didn't have to get my hands as involved as much, but
Right.
I still had them in there on plenty of those. Yeah.
Well, in talking about managing, you realize that you were never going to own the bar,
Yep.
and you were saying that somebody had to grow up. So what led you from the bar scene into real estate?
Well, about my last 2 years I was there, my stepdad, Mike, started investing in real estate here in Phoenix,
Okay.
and they figured out a way. They were picking up all these VA homes, dirt cheap. He ended up owning almost 30, and his partner had bought about 120 properties. So they decided to start their own property management company just to deal with the rents and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I used to sell tickets out of my DJ booth. So I had tickets to all the games and concerts and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And my stepdad kind of still liked getting that. So he kind of held me out of the real estate for a while. But then my now wife came back. She was my childhood sweetheart. Her and I started talking again. And I think one of the nights I came back to her apartment and I had like a huge scratch on my neck from some chick's stiletto. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
so I got my real estate license, started leasing homes. The first week I was in the leasing office, I leased 6 properties, and their top guy there had done 3.
Wow.
And at the time we were managing about 1,000 doors. And with that company, we ended up getting to about 2,000 doors.
Mm-hmm.
But that was kind of fast and furious. We were leasing everything. We did Section 8, we did lease purchase, all kinds of stuff that we don't mess with as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I realized that, I was good at it. And at first, as a leasing agent, you kind of think that you're working for the tenants. And then you realize really, our job, at least as a property manager, we work for the property owner. That's our fiduciary. So
Yeah.
the first house I ever actually leased, I got totally scammed. Chick had perfect credit, showed me pay stubs, all the stuff that looked legit. 3 months later, we raided the house. There was multi-thousands of dollars worth of cocaine and weed stuffed inside the island,
Wow.
Uzis, AK-47s, all kinds of stuff. That was the first lease I ever did.
Wow.
Now, I didn't find out about that was the problem until about 4 or 5 months later.
Oh my God.
But they're like, who leased this one? And I was like, I think that was mine. And I was like, I think that was my first lease ever.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh. Talk about a lesson learned the hard way.
yeah, and it's weird because everything was going fine, and then you find out later that it was yours. It's like, uh-oh. But one thing I know, I've been doing this long enough, about 17 years now. Drug deals and criminals never get HOA violations. They pay their rent on time. The
Mhm.
neighbors never complain. They don't want any problems because they don't want people coming in their house. So
Right.
this one just eventually got busted. So
Oh my God.
I'm hoping that's the only one I ever rented to, but there could be some out there still. I don't know.
They're paying their bills and
They pay on time.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But with that company, we were growing like crazy, and God, those were back in the days. We used to have to write our own newspaper ads for each one of our rentals. So at one time, I might have like 19 or 20 in my territory.
Okay.
And you had to write these tiny little ads that would fit, and we rented out 2-page newspaper thing. And that was like the hardest thing, is trying to figure out what the hell you can say in 28 letters.
Right.
But yeah, our phones would ring off the hook. We eventually found out that the owner of that company was definitely running faster and hotter than we knew.
Mhm.
He had bought a Ferrari at one point that blew up a week later. He moved into this huge $1 million house where we started getting a little bit suspicious, and then the Department of Real Estate cracked down and found out that he was not doing what he was supposed to be doing with the trust accounts. So the day we found that out, we immediately left. Mike, my stepdad, took one of the guys with us. His name was Dave. And we started a brand new company, just the three of us, called Home Lovers. And it was a perfect time, Dre, perfect time. It was like 2008. The sales market had just crashed.
Yeah.
All these realtors didn't realize that they were going to have to be property managers or do something else because nobody was going to buy real estate for a while. So we entered the market at the perfect time. We grew by 300 doors the first year,
Wow.
300 the second year. By the third year, I had 4 property managers and 9 leasing agents. We had 900 doors.
Wow.
And then couldn't keep people. And if you talk to enough property managers, it's hard to keep people because we're the complaint department. So some people don't have thick enough skin. So that's kind of how we started hiring VAs back then too. But we realized that partner had a totally different perspective on how to treat people and what's right versus what's wrong. My thing was always, if we take care of people, the money will come. His thing was, take all the money from them. I don't care if they stay. So we had a great brand, a great, almost 1,000 doors, and we walked away from it to let him keep the reviews and the brand and the attitude that he had. So
does he still have it?
I believe he sold most of it to a managing partner. But he had to change the name and stuff eventually. So
Sure.
just because the reputation was horrible. And he's just a bad guy. He's a very smart, but he's not a customer person, so you have to have a little bit of that, or else eventually, you piss off enough people, they don't want to do business anymore. And then they tell everybody else not to do business with you.
Right.
And just morally, I hated him. I was like, we can't treat people the way that you want to treat them. That's not what we're in this for. I mean, even our owners. It's like, guys, we're supposed to work for the owner, and all you care about is, did we make enough money off them? It's like, that's not going to work long term. And I didn't think it would, and sure enough, it didn't. So
yeah,
we left him, and now we're fully family owned. My parents own our company, Home Quick. I'm the broker. Jason, my property manager, he's been with us since Home Lovers. He's my best friend from high school. And I made him learn the hard way like I did. He was a leasing agent for a few years. Now he's our property manager. But now we only have 200 doors, which is small.
Was his first lease like yours?
And I don't think so. No, because I was his broker, so I was checking the paper.
Oh, okay, good. You're like, no, we won't make that mistake
Yeah.
again.
When we first started, when I did 6 leases that week, our broker would he'd sign anything we put in front of him. I mean,
Yeah.
we were, it was not a well run, and not always legally operated, between the lines type of real estate company. So that's why we got as far away from that as we could.
Sure.
But now, even though we're small, we have the owners that we want. They all have my cell phone. They have Jason's cell phone. They call me. They say Merry Christmas. Like, we have a different relationship.
Merry Christmas, Noel.
Yeah, I do get that as well.
That's one of the ones that really like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is nice to be in a company now. We have great reviews. People can watch my videos, and then when they call, they're like, I feel like I know you already because I watched a bunch of your videos. And we have very easy pricing. There's nothing to hide. One thing about Arizona property management is you could charge whatever you want. So the name of the game used to be lots of hidden fees. And, like, advertise $75 a month, but you're really charging 300. And they just don't realize you're charging that until there's a few months in, and they're like, what is this? What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And we just hated that game too. So everything's up front and honest and flat fee, and you could take us or leave us kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, so I mean, like, as you were sitting there talking about this whole experience of going into property management, like having some very unfortunate partnerships and, realizing that you have a tainted brand and you're not going to be able to come away from that without making a move, right?
Oh yeah, it was awful. Yeah.
And just the
first brand was tainted too, because
right. Yeah.
we were big and nasty. We were the biggest jerks every other company hated us, and we were the jerks, right? And it's like, I don't want to be associated with that either.
Right. Yeah. The only nasty is DJ Nasty. That's all we got.
Right. Still available. I don't know how deep my track list is. It probably ends around 2010 now, but I still got Usher in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, well, I mean, everybody was really excited about that this year for the Super Bowl. But as then you're talking about, people who were working for you, and you're right, you do become very much a complaint department for so many residents. And then they got to go because it's too much stress. They don't have a thick enough skin for it. And so I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, wow, kind of everything that you went through really was setting you up personality wise, like thick skin wise, like being able to handle so many different conflicts when they would arise, and then just really having that confidence to step out of it when you needed to. And then at this point, you're sitting here saying, we work with these kind of people, and that's it.
I would suggest anybody that wants to be a property manager, spend a year being a bouncer. It would help.
There you go. Yeah, that's true. And I'm also sitting here thinking, like, what did you, I don't know if you did, maybe you did. We're always asked as kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what did you want to be?
Well, I wanted to be a history teacher and a football coach. I love coaching. It's the favorite thing I've ever done. But now I coach people on how to invest in real estate and manage a rental property. So I still get to do some of that coaching, give them my advice.
Yeah.
Let them trust me, have them understand that I'm trying to make them better, that I'm doing something to help them. So there's a lot of that I still get to do. It's just I don't get to call, plays anymore.
Well, I mean, it all depends on how you look at it.
Well, sure. But yeah, now I get to use my expertise instead of, I was always really good with kids and smart with football, but coaching football was an easy and a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
And once I learned enough about real estate that now I can confidently give people actual, true, real advice, and they can take it or leave it. And it doesn't always align with their opinion, might be different, but I can at least knowledgeably give them my opinion and advise them based on my experience if I think they're making a good move or not.
Right.
Most of the investors I end up selling a house to actually called us to ask about our property management service and fees and say, yeah, I'm looking at buying this house. And I look at it and I'm like, this is a piece of crap. Why are you buying this? They're like, oh, I called this Remax girl and she said it was a good deal. And I start asking, okay, why is it a good deal? What are you looking for? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, do you sell houses? And I'm like, yeah, I do. They're like, well, what would you buy? I'm like, well, probably maybe instead of this one in the neighborhood, I would buy this one.
Yeah.
And they say, well, why? And I go, well, it's a single story. It's not a two. It doesn't back a liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
The backyard is finished. All of the fixtures aren't brass from 1998, just certain, it has a garage,
Brass is coming back, Noel.
I know, we hate it. My wife and I see the TV shows, we're like, no, please don't bring it back.
No.
But whatever you like, you like. But yeah, I wish I would have saved. We ripped all that crap out of this house. I
Oh
could have
yeah.
saved it and sold it. But yeah, now I can know confidently. I can say, hey, I know that this house will rent faster and easier versus this one because of X, Y, and Z. Because I've now seen X, Y, and Z a couple of hundred times, if not 1,000.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the main thing I like about this business. I get to help people invest for their future. And owners can be just as hard as tenants with complaints and being whiny or whatever it is.
True.
But if you just remember that our job is to take care of the owner and give them advice, sometimes I got to give them hard advice. And sometimes we fire owners, sometimes they fire us. But I'm not afraid to tell anybody now, like, hey, I can advise you till you're deaf in the ear, but if you're not going to listen and then still blame me when it doesn't work, like this isn't going to work. Right. So I appreciate the effort, but here's a couple other people maybe you want to work with that you can try out, but it's not me anymore.
Yeah.
You hate to have to say that, but it does feel good now that we're fully family owned, doing our own thing, that we can say no and we can say goodbye if we want to. And it took a long time to get there.
Yeah. And, I feel like even being a salesperson in a few different companies, right? Sitting there kind of putting myself out of the entrepreneur side and like, you're allowed to make your own decisions, right? But then thinking of the people who are listening who are not necessarily owning their own company, but they're in that sales realm, I will say too that one of the biggest things for me as a salesperson was having that confidence to sit there and say, no, I'm not going to work with you. Like, just because you're so-and-so, but you're a DB and I'm not going to put up with that, So, and thankfully I had bosses who were very understanding and very supportive in those situations, because if, most salespeople are so scared to turn anybody away, even if they are being a jerk. And it's very empowering.
And you learn that too. Like eventually, if you're just a salesperson, you're not going to get paid unless you sell something, probably.
Right.
So get the commission, but give your best advice. And if they don't want to follow up, but they still want to go through the deal, I mean, you got to decide, do I want to make this money or not? I tried, right?
Yeah.
I told you not to add on the clear coat. I told you didn't need the extended warranty, but you bought it anyway. And thanks. I hope it works out. And so there's nothing wrong with still doing that, still trying. People are going to do what they want to do. But at the end of the job, if your job is sales, you got to sell something. I just say, sell it the right way. Be honest, be upfront. Let them know what your actual opinion is, but they're still going to make the decision.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like I said, selling Starbucks is a lot different than selling a house. I'm not going to ruin somebody's life if I tell them they should try the chai tea and they end up hating it. But I could screw up somebody's, investment and, mess up their life if I tell them, hey, I think you can afford 9 houses.
Right.
So let's cash out everything you got and buy 9 of them instead of saying, hey, you got a lot of money. Maybe let's start with 3, make sure they're working. And then let's get 3 more and then 3 more, instead of just saying, hey, let's buy 9 right now and good luck. Hope that goes well. I'll still get paid, but then what does that do for them?
Yeah.
I don't know if karma's a thing or not, but relationships are definitely a thing, and word gets around. If you take good care of people, I think it will come back and you'll get taken care of. That's just how I've tried to do it,
Oh, there was many a time too that understanding that this person wanted to work with whatever company I was with, I would pass them along to some other salesperson because that commission was not worth my headache. And I'm all like, I understand you're going to work with us, but I will not be the person to get you through there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So, I mean, through everything in life, like it is wild how life goes the way it goes sometimes. Like, did you ever think you'd be where you are today? And do you think that everything that you went through to get to where you are was like just perfect? Do you wish anything was different?
Oh, there's all kinds of crap I would have done different. I would have stayed in school, for one. I think I would have loved being maybe even a college professor and a football coach, whether it was
Talking
high
about
school.
drugs.
Yeah, sure. Just say no, kids. Just say no.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, I had my fun, but that was a long time ago.
Well, I was
Long
just
time
thinking
ago.
of the professor that you really enjoyed listening to, and he was
Yeah.
fun. He was cool.
Well, like I would love to teach a sociology class because I'll tell you what, spending 8 years at a bar and all of this time in property management, I mean, I've seen and met and dealt with every kind of person.
Yeah.
And and there's something to say, like people use the word prejudice, but it's like you can tell the way certain groups of people are probably going to act to
Hmm.
certain situations, and what they want out of the outcome might be different based on their culture, where they're from. Like you start to see patterns and stuff. So I think that would be an interesting sociological class to say, hey, I don't know what the stats are, but certain people act this way, certain people want this.
Hmm.
Um, like when you're working a nightclub, certain guys want to be to the front. They're going to tell you that their drink's not strong enough. Then they're not going to tip. The other
Yeah.
guys want to drink Bud Light and do cocaine and get in a fight. Um, then the certain guys from a certain side of town just wants to come and dance in their rayon shirts. Like you can kind of tell these guys are from Mesa, these guys are from Glendale. Like you can see them walking up the door. The west side versus the east side.
Yeah.
It's a whole different type of people. So that would be an interesting class to teach, would be sociology, and talk about how do people form these behaviors, based on their surroundings and their upbringing and all that kind of stuff. That kind of
Mhm.
interests me a little bit. That or ancient aliens I could talk about too.
Ancient aliens. That's
Yeah.
a topic.
I would love to do a class on ancient aliens. Yeah.
So, in all reality, you have a passion for teaching. Doesn't really matter what it is, but
Yeah.
you love to research and learn and being able to share that same information to others.
I don't know if I love to research, but
Oh,
I do like learned experience though.
okay. All right. Well,
But
you've lived a lot of life to learn. So,
yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, research is fine, but I would love, I've been trying for a couple of years to get into teaching real estate, specifically for property managers here in Arizona.
Hmm.
And I seem to keep getting roadblocked. Like maybe it's just, I can't, my square peg isn't fitting in their round hole kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but it's something I still want to try to do. And a friend, Kate Roth, is finally starting to teach, which is good. But a
Hmm.
lot of the people that teach real estate and especially property management here, they're all old and old
Yeah.
school, and
Yeah.
they're doing things the old ways. I'm like, guys, you know that we use electronic lock boxes now. There's a thing called a virtual assistant. There's a thing called DocuSign. Like some of the stuff that they teach, I'm like, guys, that's from 17 years ago when I first started. Like nobody's doing that anymore.
Right.
So I would love an opportunity to be able to teach some of the people coming up, like why technology matters, how the software is changing the business,
Hmm.
things that you can do because it's hard to make a buck in property management. You don't want to bleed everything from the owner. You don't want to bleed it all from the tenant. Some kind of combination is the best.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of work that's involved too. So like, do you understand how you can make your business better by going to an automatic showing platform, or by having a VA answer your phone, or by having a great software or a property build, or some of these things that can help deal with some of the maintenance and the constant barrage of stuff that comes in. Like
Hmm.
you don't have to work 7 days a week for pennies.
Yeah.
You can work 5 and be happy if you just know that there's other things out there besides what these 70-year-old real estate teachers are still teaching us, that
Hmm.
they've been teaching for 20 something years. um,
Right.
Things change. And if we're not careful, the real estate, the realtor industry could be in trouble if we don't take better care of people and we allow software to do the same thing that we're doing. If all we're doing is opening a door and signing paperwork, it's got to be more than that, because software can do that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I would like to keep teaching people, the right way to do it, how to take care of people, and ways that they can um, work smarter, not harder, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Make life easier for
Yep.
sure. Have
We
you?
learned there's tons of stuff that we learned that we didn't know about it. We had no idea what a virtual assistant was. And now we have 200 virtual assistant employees. But
200.
you,
Wow.
but you learn this stuff by talking to other people and not being so proud that you can't share what you're doing and also
Hmm.
ask for help.
Hmm.
That's one of my favorite things about our involvement in ARPM is our friends here locally and nationally that aren't afraid to call me and say, hey, Noel, what do you think about this? You know, and I can call them and say, hey, I ran into this. What would you do? You know?
Mhm.
So that's a good thing, but you can't be too proud to ask. And you got to be nice enough and share enough that you've got that group of people that will help answer those questions that you can lean on.
Right. Yeah. It takes a village, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever considered, because I mean, when you were talking about teaching, you kind of mentioned that, the younger generation that's coming up. Have you ever thought about teaching a mastermind about that?
Yeah. I would love to get involved with something like that. I find a hard time putting that stuff together. Like I said, I try to tell myself, right, this week I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get into teaching. And then,
Yeah.
I'm running two companies here and it kind of gets in the way. But
Sure.
it is one of my goals this year is to figure out what can I teach? How can I teach it? I want to teach something. So
Mhm. Well, at any point when you get that mastermind going, no, when you get it going this
yeah,
year sometime, I'll edit this episode so that way the
cool.
link can be in the bottom. So that way
Yeah, very good.
anybody knows where to find it. So if they haven't seen a link yet, they know Noel hasn't
It's
gotten it
coming.
yet.
It's coming.
It's coming. So check back in.
Plus I like to teach because then I just get to talk and they have to listen to me.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I think anybody in sales loves to talk and loves to have people listen to them.
Yeah.
But I also love listening to other people
Sure.
being in sales. But
And that's one of the things I'm frustrated about here is like we all have to do our real estate classes, but it's like, okay, some of the teachers, I really love them. They're good people, but it's like, okay, I've seen your class 8 times.
yeah.
I've had to renew my license, I think 6 times now or so.
Mhm.
And it's like the same people every time. It's like, all right, I've heard your bedbug story. Like, have you done anything in the 2000s? When's the last time you rented a house?
Yes.
When's the last time you signed a lease? Like, so I think new blood would be a good thing. And I'm trying to figure out how I can help mix some of that in here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe in you, and I'm always a big supporter of you
Thank you.
in whatever you do, and all your virtual assistants. Because I know that it was, I think, when did you guys start using VAs?
Probably about 12 years ago, and then we started selling them about 10 years ago.
Selling them sounds bad,
Yeah.
but
Selling the service.
selling the service. Okay. But wow, I did not realize that it was that long ago because I feel like thousands of VA companies just came out of the woodwork like 2 years ago.
Well, so like just for NARPM specifically, we were the second virtual assistant company in the room, maybe the third if we're talking about Todd Breen with Virtually Incredible.
Mhm.
Like we're great friends with them and they're competitors of ours.
Mhm.
But they were kind of doing it a little bit different. But we kind of started around the same time. So there was 2, maybe 3 of us in the room. The last trade show I went to, there was 13
Yeah, yeah.
VA companies, 13. So it's like,
They keep
okay.
multiplying.
Yeah. Remember for a while, that was a bunch of showing services. Now there's like 3. Now
Yeah.
there's like 13 VA companies, but we all do it a little bit different.
Mhm.
A company like ours and Virtually Incredible too. Mike, my stepdad, was in the Philippines right now for our kind of annual team building party. I saw that Virtually Incredible just did theirs too. So we
Yeah.
do a good job of really taking care of our staff, and we do it the right way, the legal way. So they're getting taxes coming out. They've got bank accounts. They have,
Hmm.
they're getting paid the proper way in the Philippines. We own a company there. We own a company in Mexico. So we're not paying them under the table. We're not Venmoing them. We're not overworking them. I mean, it's 40 hours. You get your full pay. They get raises. We buy them equipment. So
Mhm.
we really do take, really, really try to take good care of them and make them happy because we're
Yeah.
assigning them to another client, but they still work under us.
Mhm.
We make sure that, that we're taking good care of them, and then they want to work hard. And then they're helping, one of the newest things I'm teaching is other property managers now,
Yeah.
why and how you can be overstaffed and under budget. Sorry, I had to throw my tagline in there,
That's
but
okay.
there's 100 things you do as a property manager. You don't need to be an expert property manager to do 85 of them.
Right, right.
The last thing I should be doing is sitting on the phone with the power company when
Mhm.
I've been doing this 17 years. There's probably something more important I could be doing with that 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But a virtual assistant can be doing that, waiting on the phone while they're doing something else. They
Mhm.
don't have to be an expert. They just need to know, call and turn this on, and you can teach them how to do that stuff. So like
Mhm.
Jason, my property manager, he's got 5 team members. And that way, I only want him working 4 or 5 hours a day because I don't want him getting burnt out with all the crap he's got to deal with.
Sure.
but I also want him available to deal with the big crap when
That
it
comes up.
happens. I
Yeah.
don't want him tied up worrying about sending out lease renewals or invoicing or calling this handyman to see, did he show up this time? Our virtual assistants can do all of that stuff,
Mhm.
and they're happy to do it.
I think that, I mean, it's incredible. And I love when it's done right, because I have heard the horror stories of when it's done wrong.
There's
And
tons.
so everybody out there listening needs to know, do your due diligence and know when it's being done right.
Yep.
And the other question I was sitting there thinking about when you're talking about all this, Noel, like, what would you say throughout your lifetime, right, of being able to, well, okay, not your lifetime, but from the conversation that we had, from you being a high schooler to doing sales, you know, having fantastic grades, flunking out of college, going into bartending, and now you're here, like, what would you say was the most impactful part of all of that, to be able to sit here and be blessed with like the success that you have right now?
I definitely think what's molded me the most is just how many different types of people that I've been able to meet.
Mhm.
Because you work at a bar for 8 years, you meet literally thousands of people.
True.
As a property manager, even though I'm not friends with the tenants, some of the owners I am, I've now met hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
By being involved in some of our property management associations and doing stuff locally, I now know hundreds of property managers and realtors. And you learn something from, if you try a little bit, you can learn something from a lot of people. So, and I just love engaging and getting to know people, and I'm horrible with names. It's one of my things. I forget people's names, but I know that I had a great conversation with them, and and I just like hearing from them, and I like talking too, but I like having those conversations and learning from people and like sharing experiences. I like to make people smile and laugh.
Mhm.
And I've had a lot of opportunity through those years to meet a lot of people and be able to have fun and funny conversations.
And just
And
being yourself.
yeah, I just try to be myself. I don't try to every now and then you might come off like you're being a hot shot, but I really try not to be. If
Mhm.
I'm an expert on something, I'll tell you that I am, but then I'll also say, but I failed at this time, and I learned from Kate how to do it better. Or,
Yeah.
Drea told me, hey, your videos are too long. Why don't you chill out and do a minute? And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do 3 1-minute videos instead of 3 5-minute, because I think you were the one that told me, look, after 45 seconds, they're probably not watching. So I'm like, okay, I'll be more precise. And
Mhm.
getting to know, the fact that I know you and can ask you that, I
Mhm.
think it's important. So I think you should pay attention to the people that you meet, see what you can learn. Everybody's career path is different. My wife's a nurse. She doesn't need to know 1,000 nurses to get better at nursing.
Right.
But in my job, since it's a moving industry and it's always changing, I need to know people, and I need to be able to count on them
Mhm.
and know that they can trust to tell me, and also trust to ask me.
Well, on that, Noel, the 45-second videos, it does matter getting to the point right off the bat instead of
Yeah.
saying, hey guys, but I will tell you that it's an ever-changing industry.
Yeah.
So over 1 minute videos, and honestly, the landscape, that's what you need to
Okay.
focus on next.
All right.
The
I
next
will.
big thing. So not saying the rest of them will be out, but just popped in my head when I told you all that good news about 45 seconds one.
That's good.
But it's an ever-changing industry, and just like
Yeah.
yours too. And so you always do have to keep an ear out, and you're always learning. Um,
I get
and-
so tired of seeing myself on video, but I know that I got to keep doing it because it does work.
Mhm.
Our reviews and our videos have changed our property management industry. I mean, people call now and it's a laydown. They're like, I've seen 10 of your videos and you guys have great reviews. Basically, send me the paperwork.
Yeah.
So like some of our friends that we know that are still afraid to do videos, I tell them all the time, I will help you. I'll
Mhm.
take 2 hours out. I'll come shoot. You'll do 50 videos. You got 50 topics, or let's start with 10. Let's knock
Yeah.
out 10 1-minute videos. And if you post 3 a week, you've got, I'm not bad at math, but a couple of weeks worth of videos right there.
Yeah, no, it's true. And at the risk of coming off topic a second, I just had somebody tell me, 2 of my good friends, right? One, she's told this guy, you gotta create a video. And he's like, no way in heck am I putting my face on a video to put it up on social media. And so she created 3 videos within a matter of minutes and threw it up there. And lo and behold, their event sold out with like flying colors. And so, yeah, the videos are huge. I'm a big advocate, but
I hate seeing my 5 head on camera, but
well, mine too.
I got to do the videos.
You just got to pick the right angle, like double chin or 5 head. What do you want?
Yeah, I got them both, so I try to work the angles a little. Yeah.
You know, as I'm sitting here thinking too about like what can we give the listeners as a takeaway? One of my biggest takeaways from this whole conversation is that, you know, especially during my time of growing up, like having a degree was so pivotal to be able to keep moving forward and be successful. Sure. And I think I was teetering on the edge or the end of that of, do I need a degree? Do I not? And I have a degree, a bachelor's in agricultural science, never used it, but I have a bachelor's. And granted, that bachelor's has helped me in getting a job or 2 throughout my years of life, but I never was in that same industry. So it was just the fact that I had a degree, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like you learn to learn, and that's what people cared about. And I love the fact that
means something.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you were a fantastic student, wonderful grades. You go to college, you don't finish college, and here you are today thriving with multiple businesses. And for me, that's like one of my biggest takeaways from all of this is that you're thriving, not having a degree, and being yourself.
Yep. I've definitely been passed over by a lot of jobs that I tried to get in the past because I didn't have a degree. And I'm like, I guarantee if you just sat down and interviewed me, you'd probably like me.
Right.
And you'd probably think I could do a good job for you.
Yeah.
But there is something to say. They want to see that you were able to get through the school and get that thing. I think that's going to change. Degrees won't be as important, but they still are for a lot of hiring people.
Absolutely.
And you look, if you can't get hired, you can't get experience, but they want people with experience. It's like kind of a butting head type of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would just say, I mean, not just from the sales side, but I just think if you treat people right, the money will come. If you chase the money, you'll get bad people. So you'll put bad people in front of you if all you care about is the bottom line. I think if you put the people first, the bottom line will be good.
Because then word of mouth spreads like wildfire. Wildfire.
Nailed.
I wanted to say wildflower. Flower could put out fire, but we want the wildfire. We want it to spread. And word of mouth is one of the biggest, most impactful reviews that you can get. And referrals in that sense too. So I'm a big believer in that, of taking care of the people rather than worrying too much about what's going to come from it. Because if you're blessing other people, the blessings are going to come back and tenfold sometimes. But is there anything else that you would like to leave anybody with today as far as maybe words of wisdom from Professor Noel or any big key takeaways?
You know, I've probably talked enough to them, but I will tell you, if you need a review, call me. I'll give you a review.
Even if you don't know them?
Well, hopefully I know you.
Oh.
Yeah. But if not, you might be able to talk me into a review. I'm happy to have a chat with somebody.
They just gotta.
But if you're watching this and you know me and you've never asked me to review your company, come on, man. I'll do it.
I love that. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about before you knew me. Now that they've watched this, they now know a bit more about Noel. And so they just have to give you a call to tell you a little bit about them. Yeah, and now you know them.
Let's hear it.
Connections are everything.
I'm ready.
Well, thank you so much, Noel. I appreciate you coming and speaking with us. I've learned more, and I can't wait to have another conversation with you again, all about your coaching experience.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to have to dig out a whistle and some short shorts for that one, but I'll find it.
Okay, we'll hold you to that. Right. That's what viewers are going to be coming back for to see. All right, do not disappoint us.
It's on. You got it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. And if you have a story like Noel that you would like to share, please reach out to me before you knew me, and we'll make sure that your story gets heard as well.
Awesome, fun stuff. Thank you.
Bye.